Stop by Sherwin-Williams and get 30% off select paints and stains May 2nd through the 12th. It's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Refresh your home inside and out with colors that make every space feel brand new. From cozy interiors to stunning exteriors, we've got the perfect shade for your next project. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
Warmer from the welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN family of podcasts, and this is a podcast that's brought to you today by DraftKings and Vote Yes on Prop 27. Half the country already allows online sports betting for adults 21 years or older, and time to get California in on the mix. You've got so many states out there like New York, like Oregon. You're able to throw in there Massachusetts. List goes on and on. All these big cities where people can bet online. Californians, they are not one of them. Prop 27 helps out California to get caught up. So vote yes on Prop 27 and vote yes on a great podcast today. As joining me in segment number 2, we actually go north of the border. Andrew Caley, he does great work over at Covers. He not only does baseball, but also does some great work on the college football front for those that are fans of college foosball. He's going to be joining me in segment number 2. We're going to be taking a look at the Blue Jays outlook in general for the remainder of the regular season heading into the postseason, and going to take a look at a few games for this Wednesday. And in the final segment, going to give you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Wednesday as we touch them all. First things first, always do love to be able to answer your Twitter questions on this podcast, and you've got one or two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, naming does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way, that is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to fire whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Did not get in any Twitter questions today, but we had some great baseball on Tuesday, and we have to brush up on a pair of games from Monday as well, since now we've got the Greg Peterson experience going on midnight to 3 Eastern time. I do have to do these recaps a bit earlier, so if it's a case where you don't like the fact that the recap is a little bit earlier and you want to hear something else here in segment number 1, once again, let me know. Question, comment, segment idea at gunit_81 on Twitter. I am receptive to all not mean suggestions, so do not say that you are a pile of poop or anything, but if you've got any suggestions, any, shall we say, constructive ways to make it a little bit better, because I do feel a little bit guilty about not hitting upon some of these West Coast games, let me know there. But that said, let's take a look back at what we wound up getting very late on Monday and here on Tuesday as we take a look at things on the Rowdy Recap.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the Rowdy Recap.
Both teams that played on Sunday Night Baseball got the win on Monday as the San Francisco Giants come back from down 2 runs in the 9th inning to take down the Colorado Rockies by a count of 10-7. Not sure how Game 2 turned out, but yeah, Jacob Junis give up 6 runs, 5 of which were earned, and then the San Francisco Giants bullpen that has been deplorable all season long picked it up from there. Alex Young, 1 unearned run in 1 2/3 innings, which means that in total the bullpen went 5 2/3 innings without allowing an earned run, as Junior Marte, Camilo Doval, Scott Alexander, Cole Waits were all able to deliver a scoreless inning. And for the San Francisco Giants, you had Thairo Estrada in the 10th inning go deep to be able to win this game. 14th home run season, Mike Yastrzemski earlier in the game. Home run number 13 of the campaign off of Chad Kuhl, who is not Mr. Cool, giving up 5 runs in 4 2/3 innings. You did have thoughts out of the bullpen from Chad Smith, and then Jake Bird, 2 scoreless innings before Justin Lawrence gives up 2 runs in his inning of work, and Gavin Hollowell allows that home run in the 10th inning that torpedoes the Colorado Rockies, and then the LA Dodgers as big favorites. They take down the Arizona Diamondbacks by a count of 5-2, and Merrill Kelly, he's had an ERA north of 8 in his 5 starts against the Dodgers this year. The Dodgers will do that to you. 5 runs surrendered in 6 innings, including a pair of bombs as Joey Gallo, 18th home run season, Chris Taylor, his 10th, and then 2 scoreless innings for Luis Frias as Clayton Kershaw looked tremendous in this game, by the way. 10 punch-outs, 1 run allowed in 6 innings. He did have Craig Kimbrell do what he does. He allowed a run in an inning, but lead was so big it didn't matter. As Evan Phillips, Tommy Kahnle, they come in to brush up in inning scoreless. We don't know how Game 2 of the doubleheader turned out as I'm recording this, but Game 1, the LA Dodgers get 5 runs in the 8th inning to take down the Arizona Diamondbacks by a count of 6-5. Anyone, I raise my hand, who had the Arizona Diamondbacks in Game 1, this was one of the biggest choke jobs that you're ever going to find, as Zach Davies only goes 3 innings in this one. I think that it was an injury issue with him. He allows 1 run, but then Taylor Widener, 2 scoreless innings, but then Kevin Ginkel gives up 3 runs, 1 of which was earned. Josh Rojas had a pair of errors that killed him. You had Caleb Smith also give up 2 runs in 2 innings, allowing a home run as going deep for the LA Dodgers. Austin Barnes, his 8th home run season, one of the most unlikely of heroes, and Joe Mantiply was able to deliver a scoreless inning, but for the Arizona Diamondbacks, they got a pair of bombs themselves. Dalton Varsho goes deep off of Michael Grove for his 26th home run season, and Grove grooved one in to Christian Walker for home run number 35 as Grove gives up 5 runs, 3 of which were earned. Pair of errors in the field hurt him, but Ryan Pepiot delivers 3 scoreless innings, and then Chris Martin was able to give a scoreless inning, so the Dodgers, they get their 103rd win of the season. That was just their 13th win, by the way. That was by just 1 run, so they have been absolute machines on the run line. Speaking of an absolute machine, that would be the Toronto Blue Jays offense. As I'm doing this, they're in the bottom of the 8th inning and have already put up 14 runs on the Philadelphia Phillies, as Kyle Gibson just should not be allowed to start games at this point. 7 runs given up in 5 innings, including a ding-dong, as Matt Chapman gets home run number 27 of the season for the Toronto Blue Jays. Every one of their starters got at least 1 hit in this game, and I believe all but 3. As I do this right now, I have at least 2 hits. That's not terrific. Ross Stripling, he's not terrific either. He gave up 5 runs in 4 innings. We'll talk about him a little bit more with our good friend Andrew Caley over there at Covers, as he allowed a home run to Dalton Guthrie, his first home run of the season. From there, Blue Jays have been able to hold down the fort with the bullpens that pop 2 scoreless innings. Tim Meza, it's scoreless inning. Julian Merriweather, as I do this, is out in the game. He seems to be in a little bit of trouble, but has a 9-run lead, which helps, as Sam Coonrod allowed 4 runs in an inning. Connor Brogdon allowed 2 runs in an inning, and Zach Eflin, well, he wasn't Eflin great. He wasn't Eflin awful. He gives up an unearned run, as Bryson Stott has had a pair of errors in this game as well. An error would be banking on the Miami Marlins to generate offense, as they lose to the Chicago Cubs by a count of 2-1. For the Cubbies, a great start out of Adrian Sampson, who's been terrific on the road. Gives up 1 run in 6 innings, though he did give up 8 hits along the way, so he had to evade a little bit of danger. But Adbert Azalea was able to deliver 2 scoreless innings to Brandon Hughes. He gets a scoreless inning for the save, as David Bodie drives in both runs for the Cubs in this one. He goes deep off of Pablo Lopez for home run number 3 of the season, as Lopez, a really good start. It's been a rough second half of the season for him. He's had north of a 5 ERA post All-Star break, but gives up 1 run in 6 1/3 innings. Steven Okert, he allows a run in an inning, and Oscar Brazobin, and out of the bullpen, Dylan Floro, a scoreless inning. But the Miami Marlins, they go 1 of 8 with men in scoring position, and they've now scored 3 runs or fewer in 33 out of their last 39 games. That is just the way that is going for them at this point. The Boston Red Sox, they have things going their way. They take down the Cincinnati Reds, as for the Boston Red Sox, it was a trio of homers that pushed them to victory, as Nick Lodolo, the starter, gives up a pair of home runs. J.D. Martinez, who has had a rough second half of the season himself, 12th home run season. Rob Refsnyder, he gets home run number 5 of the season for Lodolo, gives up 3 runs in 5 innings, including those 2 home runs. Hunter Strickland later on in the game gives one up to Rafael Devers. Devers' 27th home run season, as Strickland gives up 2 runs in 2/3 of an inning. Revier San Martin, 2/3 of an inning. Scoreless, Dario Moreta, Ian Gabo. They combine for 2 1/3 innings scoreless, but for the Reds, 0 of 8 with men in scoring position. TJ Friedel gets a home run off of Brian Bayo. 7th home run season for Mr. Bayo. Fades a lot of danger. He gives up 8 hits in 5 innings, but just gives up that sole home run. Ryan Brazier, Zach Kelly, Matt Barnes from there. I'll deliver a scoreless inning, and it's going into the bottom of the ninth as I do this by a count of 5-1. So got to figure that the Red Sox pull it out, but they might allow a run along the way. For the Tampa Bay Rays, they were my DK Nation pick. They were facing off against a Houston Astros team that you figured they had done a little bit of drinking the night before after clinching the division, but they came out very strong, winning by a count of 5-0. It's Christian Javier, 5 scoreless innings. He did have a few walks along the way, but was able to do a very sturdy job. Meanwhile, Shane McClanahan, the starter on the flip side for the Tampa Bay Rays, he had to leave early as he was experiencing some ailments, and you could tell that he did not look right as he gave up a home run to Jeremy Pena earlier in the game, 19th of the campaign for Pena, as all 5 of the runs that were scored by the Astros charged to Shane McClanahan. From there, the bullpen did their part. JT Chargois, Javi Guerra, Colin Pooch all deliver a scoreless inning, and Sean Armstrong, 2 scoreless innings that he had to enter mid at bat, so credit where credit is due for him. But for the Rays, they ran 8 men on base. They have been shut out the last 2 nights while stranding 18 men on base over the course of the last 2 nights as Phil Maton, Ryan Stanek, Will Smith all get jiggy with it for a scoreless inning, and then Brian Abreu and Ryan Presley, they tag team together, getting a scoreless 9th inning to be able to get this one to the window. By the way, as I do this podcast, it's now 14-10, Blue Jays and Phillies, so that is turning out to be a big giant calamity, and this is a calamity as the Orioles, looks like their postseason hopes are done because they have now lost back-to-back games to the Detroit Tigers. 3-2, Detroit able to get it done as for the Tigres, pair of home runs in this one. Kerry Carpenter, 5th home run season, and Akil Baddoo gets home run number 2 as Austin Voth gives up one of them, gives up 2 runs in 5 innings. Joey Cribio gives up the other, giving up a run in 2 innings as Brian Baker, Cianel Perez, they both deliver a scoreless inning, and the lone form of offense for Baltimore turned out to be Gunnar Henderson. He gets his 3rd home run of the campaign off of Joey Jimenez as the Tigers get a very good start for Joey Wentz. He went in and he got 5 2/3 innings scoreless. Alex Lang and out of the bullpen. Joey Jimenez gives up that home run, 2 outs, and gave up those 2 runs. But Andrew Chafin, 1 1/3 innings scoreless, and then Gregory Soto, a scoreless inning to polish it off. Looks like the Yankees are going to go down as the Pittsburgh Pirates wind up taking Clay Holmes deep. Rodolfo Castro goes yard in the 8th inning. It is currently 8-4 as I record this. You can't call anything final with the Pittsburgh Pirates, but Luis Ortiz actually a really good start for them, giving up 2 runs, one of which was earned in 5 innings. He's got a future. Dwayne Underwood Jr. gives up 2 runs in an inning, and for Castro, his 11th home run season that comes off of Clay Holmes and Lou Trevino. Earlier, he gave up a home run to Brian Reynolds, 24th home run season. As for the Yankees, they got a good start on Nestor Cortez. Could have used a little bit more length, but gives up 1 run in 5 innings, and the entire bullpen has been terrible as I do this right now with having the New York Yankees brought in 4 relief arms, and all 4 gave up at least 1 run. Jonathan Loaiza got 3 runs, 2 of which were earned in 1 1/3 innings. Clay Holmes allows that bomb as you have Lou Trevino give up a run in an inning. Ron Mananacchio gives up 2 runs in his inning of work as well, so it is not going well there. It is also not going well for the Texas Rangers as I do this right now. They are trailing the LA Angels. As for the Angels, Matt Duffy takes Cole Reagan's deep earlier in this game. 2nd home run season for Patrick Sandoval. He delivers 5 innings. He gives up 2 runs along the way. And for Reagan's, he's thrown around like a rag doll as he gave up 2 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Honestly, lucky it wasn't worse as he gave up 7 hits along the way. Dennis Santana gives up 3 runs in 1/3 of an inning. That's all that Dennis Santana is good for at this point. So looking relatively rocky there. Don't necessarily have a ton for you in terms of Seattle and Oakland. That game is in the 2nd inning, and the San Diego Padres, they were able to get onto Adam Wainwright very early as Jake Cronenworth was able to drive in a pair against Adam Wainwright in the 1st inning. So we shall see how that turns out, and it looks like the Brewers are going to be turning out a big giant loser as the bullpen of the Milwaukee Brewers, it is pretty much doomed at this point as the Mets, as I record this in the 7th inning, have 7 runs on 4 hits. 7-4 with the New York Mets as Carlos Carrasco not a good start for them. He gives up 3 runs over the course of 4 innings. Trevor Williams comes in from there, giving up a run in 1 1/3 innings, and Yuli Rodriguez, pair of outs out of the bullpen. But Francisco Lindor, grand slam off of Taylor Rogers, 25th home run season. Pete Alonso, earlier in the game, just hit a missile off of Brad Boxberger, 37th home run season, as the Brewers sent Aaron Ashby to the mound for a start. He could only give them 2 innings. Peter Strzelski, Holby Milner, 1 2/3 innings, scoreless apiece, and the duo Brad Boxberger and Taylor Rogers give up those 2 home runs, 7 runs in total in 1 1/3 innings. Just absolute sadness for the Milwaukee Brewers right now, who they're getting their opportunities with the Phillies, because I'll update you again, the Blue Jays have 18 runs now in that game, so that's not too terrific. And hey, if you were hoping for a 20-game loser, this is not terrific either. It's Patrick Corbin, the turkey tosser himself, leaves the game very early against the Atlanta Braves. And as I do this, going into the bottom of the 8th inning, the Washington Nationals bullpen has really been able to piecemeal this together. It's 2-1 as Corbin leaves after getting just 2 outs in the first inning. Erasmo Ramirez, he gives up 2 runs in 3 innings as Jordan Weems goes 2 1/3 innings scoreless. Hunter Harvey, a scoreless inning. Really the reason why the Atlanta Braves lead this game. Travis d'Arnaud gets his 18th home run season as Charlie Morton, very good start, 5 1/3 innings, gives up 1 run. Colin McHugh, 1 2/3 innings scoreless. AJ Minter, a scoreless inning of his own. As I do this, Guardians and White Sox are involved in a 1-0 game, and right now the Colorado Rockies are getting held scoreless by the San Francisco Giants bullpen game, which that's not too great for the Colorado Rockies. But if you're just taking a look at the game of baseball in general, it has been a very topsy-turvy year to say the least, as right around 51.8% of games this season have gone under the total. As a matter of fact, take a look at things through the middle of Tuesday night, 1,077 unders to 1,004 overs, so 51.8% of games going under the total. Favorites have won 60.6% of the time, but something that I've been highlighting this year, home favorites out covering the run line. Out of the 829 home favorites that have won outright, that is 60.8% of home favorites winning outright. We have now seen a grand total of 254 failed to cover the run line, and if you spotlight this to the last 60 days, so pretty much since the All-Star break, unders have been hitting at a clip of 52%, 395 unders to 364 overs, and in this time span, home favorites have been dominant, 301 and 172, that is 63.6%, but 85 instances where the home favorite has not covered the run line, so that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's what we got on Tuesday. Now coming up next, we go north of the border to talk with our good friend Andrew Caley about the Toronto Blue Jays, Wednesday's games, and so much more here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball, this is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast. It is always great to have this guest on the show, as Andrew Caley does absolutely tremendous work over at Covers. He is a man that you're able to find north of the border, a man that does a great job taking a look at all things Toronto sports in terms of the Blue Jays, Raptors, list goes on and on. And for those of you guys that are big fans of college football as well, I know that Andrew over at Covers does a great job on that front, as well as to be able to follow Andrew on Twitter. That's at Covers_Caley. Last name is spelled Caley. Andrew, it is always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Greg. There's nothing better than September baseball that's meaningful, and there's nothing that makes that even better than betting on September baseball that is meaningful, and we've got a lot of that coming ahead of us here.
Oh, we absolutely do, and it feels like we're starting to get the playoff picture fortified. The Philadelphia Phillies are starting to be in a little bit of danger of falling out of the playoff if the Milwaukee Brewers are able to put together a few wins, but past that, I feel like we know who the playoff teams are going to be, and ironically enough, Phillies and Blue Jays are going to be taking on one another. We'll dive into that in a minute, but first things first, want to get your thoughts on the Blue Jays and how they've been able to just play in general recently, because I do think that the division just is a little bit too far out of reach, but I do like what I've seen out of the Blue Jays recently, and the guy that went on Tuesday, we don't know how his start went in general, Ross Stripling, I think is going to be a big key for this team, both in regards to the end of the regular season and perhaps in the postseason as well.
Yeah, Stripling has been outstanding for the Jays. He's still Ross Stripling, though, and it just makes me a little nervous that he's your third best starter heading down the stretch in September, and if you have to use him as your third starter in a postseason race. Obviously, we were hoping a little more out of Jose Barrios this season, And I think he will improve next season. I don't think he can be as bad as he was this season. And you're hoping you get the best of him in the postseason. It's tough to see a team out there like the Seattle Mariners. They went out and got Luis Castillo to shore up that rotation. And now they have arguably the best 1, 2, 3 in the American League heading into the postseason with him and Logan Gilbert and Robbie Ray, of course, former Blue Jay, Mr. Tight Pants himself. But it'll be interesting to see how the Jays line up the starters going into the postseason. I expect Stripling will be the number 3 starter when all is said and done, and which means Barrios would be in a number 4 spot and possibly not pitching in an American League wildcard round, which is really shocking when you consider how much they've invested in him over, I believe, the next 7 years. But yeah, that's where we're at this point. Stripling is out battling. More on the Jays, though. Their bullpen has been much more reliable lately. I wouldn't call them one of the top bullpens in the American League. The Astros have a great one. The Yankees are still good in that regard. And of course, the Rays are. It's going to be a very well-pitched postseason, I believe, in the American League. For those Jays fans out there who want to hear if they have any hope, I to go deep into this postseason, I think it all depends on whether this lineup can click all at once. It seems that it's either Bo is on fire and everybody else is kind of not pulling their weight, or Vladdy's on fire and then a couple of the bottom of the lineup guys are going and Springer's not going. And it's been weird. But if they can get everybody to click all at the same time, and Vladdy needs to, I think it's mostly mental with him with all of these ground balls right now. I think he's pressing a little bit. Obviously, he hits the ball hard. He's just hitting it hard into the ground a lot of the time right now. But if he can relax a little bit and do what he does best and let the power come naturally and take the ball to the opposite field, the Blue Jays can be as dangerous as anybody in the playoffs.
And I believe that the Blue Jays have 5 different guys that have hit at least 20 home runs this season as well. So even with some guys having, and I air quotes here, down years, because their down years are better than most. So there's that. They have enough firepower. And like you said, the bullpen, in my opinion, has been much better. It's just all about the starting pitching. And that leads us to the game that we're going to be getting on Wednesday. As joining me on the podcast, we do have Andrew Caley of Covers. And one of the most trustworthy guys for the Blue Jays is Kevin Gausman, who shockingly has been so much better on the road than at home. If you can figure this out, please let me know, because he's got an ERA that's nearly 2 points better when he's away from Toronto, but he's going to be going up against Zach Wheeler, which I just find this to be an intriguing matchup, because with Wheeler, he hasn't pitched on a big league mound in about 3 to 4 weeks. This is going to be his first time back. Meanwhile, for Kevin Gausman, it's been a case where he hasn't given up a lot of home runs. He hasn't given up a lot of walks, but it feels like he's almost so nervous to give up a walk that he just throws the ball over the plate, and it just sometimes gets smacked really hard. Right now, we're finding a total on this game of 8 as well. Not sure where you stand in terms of this game and just in Kevin Gausman in general, but has been a very fascinating year for him, because typically you don't find a pitcher of his, I guess you could call it caliber, having a fielding independent that's nearly a full point lower than his ERA, but it does make sense, the ERA, when you watch him pitch, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're 100% right on that. And this was one of the concerns that a lot of people had when the Blue Jays signed him, because he is also just basically a 2-pitch pitcher. And if he isn't locating that fastball as well as he needs to, it can be hit hard, like you said. And he doesn't like walking guys, so he tries a little hard to put it over the center. And I think maybe he's been pressing a little bit over the last couple of weeks. This is my favorite and kind of crazy stat that I've heard about Kevin Gausman recently. He allowed just 7 home runs in his first 24 starts of the season, but he's allowed another 7 in his last 4 games of the season. That's quite a drastic shift there. The Phillies, they rank 6th in home runs per game. But that said, I'd probably still side with the value. I'm looking at the Blue Jays, and I see them at close to even money, like minus 105 range for this matchup. I think that's undervaluing them a little bit, considering, like you said, Wheeler is coming off, making his first start in a while. Probably have to knock off some rust. Knocking it off against what is a very dangerous Blue Jays lineup is not always a good thing. This is also when he was pitching well, the Jays got to him for 6 runs on 7 hits back in July. So it's not like this is a guy they haven't seen before and have done damage against. I'm even seeing some 7.5s pop up, and I think we're seeing that because this is a name matchup like Gausman versus Wheeler. If you can find a 7.5, I'd probably take the over there.
I agree with you, and with the Toronto Blue Jays as well, finding them as a slight underdog, this just feels wrong with the way that Gausman has pitched on the road. Honestly, I upgrade Gausman just a very slight hair when he's on the road rather than at home, because he's been not very trustworthy when he's been in Toronto. On the road, he's been nails as well. So I do think that that's interesting to dive into as well. As joining me on the podcast, we do have Andrew Caley of Covers, and no question, the Blue Jays, they should be making the playoffs. If they don't, some calamity has happened. But in terms of these playoff races, what I'm just really intrigued by in general is what happens in the National League East at this point, because you still have both of the teams out there in the Braves and the Mets separated by going into Tuesday, one game. By the time this podcast drops, it might be a little bit more. It might wind up being a case in which it's still right around one. But I think that this is really the one race to watch out for, because even though the White Sox have come on, I don't know if they're going to be able to track down the Guardians unless if they have a big sweep when these two teams go head-to-head within the next few days. But I just think that what happens in the NL East is so big, because with the New York Mets, it's just all about health with them, and having Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer on the mound. And I think the fewer innings that those guys are able to throw just here in the next few weeks, and the more rested they could be for October, the better for the team.
100%. I think the division is way more important for the Mets than it is the Braves. Like, the Braves won't care if they're in the wild card round. They'll have the confidence that they can beat anyone. They're the defending World Series champions, and they're a well-built team. The Mets, like you said, health is a factor, and they've been streaky at times this season. And if they can get deGrom and Scherzer lined up, they will just heading straight into the divisional round as opposed to having to play that wild card round. I think that would do a lot for the Mets mentally. Like, it's the Mets, so there's always this kind of fear of dread around the team by their fan base. So, like I said, I think it would mean a lot to the Mets to hold off the Braves here to win that division.
Totally agree. As joining me on the podcast, we do have Andrew Caley of Covers, and for the Mets, critical game coming up on Wednesday against the Milwaukee Brewers, because I feel like these are the games that the Mets need to win. Taijuan Walker goes for the Mets. Adrian Houser, who has been terrible for the Milwaukee Brewers, goes for Milwaukee. And a Milwaukee team that I just pointed it out. If the Phillies lose to the Toronto Blue Jays over the next few games, and the Blue Jays were really able to get to the Phillies on Tuesday, it provides an opening for the Brewers. But when you trot out there Adrian Houser as your starter, it does not give you the best opportunity to win. Mets are between a minus 120 to a minus 125 favorite with a total of 8.5. And I'm not sure where you stand on this game, but if you're looking at anything, the one thing that I'd be looking at is not backing Adrian Houser, because this guy has been terrible.
Terrible. I agree. He's got some good starts thrown in there. If you just quickly looked at the box score, you'd be like, oh, he's good every now and then. But if you actually break it down, it's like, anytime he faces a good team, he gets rocked. And all those good starts are against the Reds or the Pirates or the Rockies or someone like that. And anytime he faces anyone of any quality, he's really getting roughed up. And I would call the Mets a team of quality right now. So I think that's not good in his corner. They also got to him for 4 runs on 8 hits in just 4 2/3 back on June the 14th. I think Taijuan Walker is being undervalued a little bit right now as well. He's pitching much better of late. He's got a 3.64 ERA over his last 5 starts. I don't know where you have this line at, Greg, but I think the Mets are being undervalued here. I'll happily take them in the minus 120, minus 125 range.
Yeah, I set this more around the minus 145 to minus 150 range myself. I am right there with you. I'm also taking a look at the over, because even though the Brewers won Adrian Houser's last start, they had to overcome a 5-run deficit against the New York Yankees to do so. That was all thanks to the offense. That was no thanks whatsoever to Adrian. Don't call him Doogie Howser. And, well, I think that Doogie Howser might be better for the Brewers, as right now they're throwing out their Doogie Howser and also Jason Alexander. No, not George Costanza from Seinfeld. That is not a good combination if you want to be making the postseason. And I am a Wisconsin native, so I would know just all too well about this. As joining me on the podcast, we do have Andrew Caley. And Andrew, we've got a relatively good slate of games for Wednesday. Obviously, that Rays versus Houston Astros game has some playoff implications. Cardinals versus Padres, that comes to mind as well. We shall see what happens with the Braves versus the Nationals game. As we're doing this, that game is off the board, so that's a little bit unfortunate. But is there anything else that you're taking a look at in terms of the Wednesday board, whether it be just a team in general that you want to see a little bit more from, or a side/shuttle that you're looking to back?
I'm really looking at this Cleveland-Chicago White Sox game. Really, really good pitching matchup in this one. Tristan McKenzie and Lance Lynn. I think seeing the way McKenzie has broken out has been really, really awesome. Plus, he's super reliable for them now. He regularly goes 6+ innings, and he had this amazing start, maybe the start of his career against the White Sox back on August 19th or so, where he struck out 14 batters. This game's also super important for the White Sox, as we talked about briefly there. Their one chance catching up in that division there. They have got some important games coming up, and they need Lance Lynn to be at his best. After his slow start with the injury, he's finally starting to look like the guy that was one of the better pitchers in the American League last season. I believe he's gone now 7 straight starts, allowing 2 earned runs or fewer. It could be a really, really good pitcher's duel in that game there, and a bit of a playoff atmosphere as well. So I'd be looking at the under first 5 in that matchup.
I do think that is going to be a good environment. Something that I always side with, getting great guests on this podcast. And Andrew, you always fit the bill. You do a great job taking a look at a wide variety of things over at Covers. I know that you do quite a bit in terms of their coverage on golf as well. I know that you've been doing a nice job taking a look at college football, but time and time again, you always deliver on this baseball podcast as well. So let the good people at home know they're able to follow you on social media and just what you've all got on tap in general.
You can follow me on Twitter at Covers_Caley. That's Caley. And like you said, neck deep in college football right now. I've got my triple option, my favorite plays of the week, but I'm making tons of plays on college football this season. Follow me on Twitter for all of them. Lots of MLB prop bets as well as the season winds down. There's many more angles with teams kind of giving up and giving young guys more time, but there's also the tight races that also provide angles as well. It's just a great time to be betting.
Oh, it certainly is. We've got darn near everything in our lives right now, aside from college basketball, but we're hard at work in terms of prep there. That'll be getting started in early November, so we're going to have in early November just everything in the sports calendar all coming to the forefront. And Andrew, he does a great job of covering so much of it. And every time he joins this podcast, always lends tremendous insights. A big thanks to Andrew Caley of Covers for joining me here on the Baseball Betting Show. Now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Wednesday as we touch them all.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. It is always a pleasure to get Andrew Caley aboard. He does great work over at Covers. He has joined me quite a bit on the podcast, both this season and past years. Does a nice job looking at college football over there at Covers. Day in and day out, does a great job of looking at the betting board as well, and has a great affinity for the Toronto Blue Jays, so always a pleasure to get him aboard. Now it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this MLB Wednesday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter feed at GUnit_81. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, and the Interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. So, without further ado, let's dive into a game that's currently off the board in 951, 952 on the betting board. It is the Atlanta Braves. They're going to be playing host to the Washington Nationals. Bryce Elder is going to be going for the Braves, and to be determined is on the bump for the Nationals, which is why this game is off the board. Was seeing Josiah Gray a little bit earlier, but this is a big giant question mark. If it would be Josiah Gray, I'd be saying the Nats is right around a plus 195 underdog. I would need a plus 110 to take them on the run line. And the total probably not going to change too much as opposed to Gray versus a bullpen game to where 9.5 or less, I'd be looking at the over 10 or higher to the under. With Bryce Elder, he's gotten 6 starts at the big league level this year. I know he made a long appearance as well a little bit earlier during the year. And in his last 2 starts, they've went well, giving him 1 run in 13 innings. Take that with a grain of salt. Those 2 starts came against the Miami Marlins. In games not pitched against the Miami Marlins, he has won about 23 and a third innings, giving up 14 runs. That's good for about a 5 ERA. Someone that at the minor league level wasn't great, wasn't terrible. The big thing for him is command. He's been giving up about 5 walks per 9 innings. He's got some swing and miss stuff in him. We have seen that at the big league level, right around 8 punch-outs for 9 innings. And if you do get Josiah Gray, the reason why the total is so high and might not go up too much if we've got a bullpen game is because he leads the big leagues in home runs surrendered, which is far from terrific, as he's allowed thus far this season 37 home runs in 136 and 2/3 innings. And he is backed up by a bullpen that has quite a few arms that are a little bit older but are looking to prove something, stay aboard in the MLB, like Carl Edwards Jr., Hunter Harvey, Kyle Finnegan. These are guys that have been able to supply a sub 380 ERA. They've been relatively decent. Raisel Ramirez has been nice as a long guy. And if you do get Josiah Gray, he's been significantly better on the road than at home for Josiah Gray. His home ERA is a 6.57 compared to a 3.96 road ERA, though he's given up bombs in both locations. But for the Washington Nationals, 5+ runs scored in 12 out of the last 18 games entering into Tuesday night. Lane Thomas has been very solid for the team, supplying 16 home runs. He, Cesar Hernandez, since he's been with the team, Luke Voigt, all in between about a 245 to 255. CJ Abram has picked it up since coming aboard as well. Voigt overall for the season, 21 home runs. Joey Meneses, longtime journeyman. He's getting a home run every about 17 or so at bats, hitting at 325, but just doesn't compare to the Atlanta Braves. You've got a Braves bunch as Ronald Acuna Jr., Dansby Swanson, Austin Riley, William Contreras, all in between 270 to 280 with Riley, supplying 37 home runs. Matt Olson, in terms of an on-base percentage, hasn't been as great this season, but he's got 28 home runs. Michael Harris II has been hitting above a 300. He's been getting a home run every about 20 or so at bats. He's been tremendous. Vaughn Grisham moves the line in for the Atlanta Braves. They do back up Elder with a very solid bullpen, as Tyler Matzek and AJ Minter all season long have done a solid job, and then you've been able to have Dylan Lee come in, provide a sub-3 ERA. Kenley Chance is someone that you want absolutely no part of, and Jackson Stevens has been a little bit more tough as a long guy, but Rossio Iglesias, since he's gotten to Atlanta, he's posting up a sub-1 ERA. So if we do get Josiah Gray against Bryce Elder, I'd be making the Braves right around a -195 favorite. Would be willing to lay a -110 on the run line, and 9.5 or less to the over, 10 or higher to the under on the total. If it is a bullpen game, I would probably make the Nats a little bit more than a $2 underdog, but we'll be keeping a relatively similar total. 953, 954 on the betting board. The New York Mets at the road face-off against the Milwaukee Brewers. Adrian, a.k.a. Doogie Howser, is going to be going for the Brewers, and Taijuan Walker is on the bump for the Mets. Mets are between -120 and -125 favorites, between +105 and +110. The number on Milwaukee, 8.5 is the total. Overs between -115 and -125. The unders between -105 and +105. Did make my total 8.8. I'm going to be checking out an over. You got Taijuan Walker, who's just not been doing a great job of getting swings and misses, and quite frankly, has been a little bit lucky to keep as many balls in the yard as he has, as overall for the season, Taijuan Walker has given up 13 home runs in 142 innings. Last season, we saw him give up nearly 1.6 home runs per 9 innings while getting significantly more strikeouts. Now, good news for him, he has been giving up only about 2.5 walks per 9 innings. Command has been solid, but he's actually been better on the road than he has been at home in terms of ERA, 3.36 road ERA compared to a 3.50 ERA at home, despite the fact that he's giving up pretty much more home runs per 9 innings when he's on the road rather than at home. So that has been intriguing. And for Adrian Howser, he just has not been very good in terms of just starts themselves. In his last 9, he's given up 3+ runs in 8 of them. He's got a 3.73 home ERA compared to a 6.14 road ERA, but he did it back to June. He's pretty much given up 3+ runs in all but one of his home starts, and that was against the Cincinnati Reds. And now he has to face off against a Metropolitan team that they just do a very solid job of moving the line. Mark Canha, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, all in between about a 264 to a 270. Luis Guillorme has done a nice job of getting on base. Jeff McNeil is hitting above a 300. Even without Starling Marte in the fold, this has been a solid lineup with Alonso supplying 36 home runs, Lindor 95+ RBI. And for the Brewers, credit is due. They rank in the top 5 in the big leagues in terms of home runs on a per at-bat and a per-game basis. Willie Adames, Rowdy Tellez both had 30+ home runs, and then Hunter Renfroe has been able to supply 25 of his own, but in terms of batting average, this team doesn't do a great job of moving the line. Christian Yelich has been your main leadoff hitter, hitting about a 265. Mike Brasso is able at about a 250, along with Colt Wong and Hunter Renfroe as well, but that's a little bit rough. for this Brewers team. And then when it comes to the Brewers, the bullpen just has been far from supreme, even though Devin Williams is posting up a sub-2 ERA. I like Brad Boxberger. He has supplied a sub-3 ERA, and now they've got Jake Cousins back in full, which is something that I do like, but he's coming in perhaps a little bit too little too late. Peter Strzelski, credit where credit is due. He's been posting up about a 3 ERA post All-Star break, a 3.38, so he's been okay, but when you've got guys like Trevor Kelly and company out there, that's not great. And for the New York Mets, you've had a pair of guys in Adam Ottavino and Tommy Hunter provide a sub-275 ERA. I like what I've seen post All-Star break out of Seth Lugo. Before the All-Star break, it was not going too terrifically for him, but he's really been able to shape up ever since then. Edwin Diaz, he's got a sub-1 ERA since the All-Star break as well, so I do think that the Mets going to be able to do a good job on the back end. I do think that Walker going to give up a deep ball or two. There's just no trusting in Adrian Hauser, though, even though he's been able to keep the ball in the yard. This guy is just giving up hit after hit after hit, so I do think that the Mets going to be able to go death by a million cuts, set them as a minus 147 favorite. So looking at the Metropolitans, set my total at an 8.8, so looking over as well, 955, 956 on the betting board. It is the Chicago Cubs. They're on the road facing off against the Miami Marlins. Jesus Luzardo is going to be going for the fish, and Marcus Stroman is on the bump for the Cubs. And the Cubs are a very slight underdog on the DraftKings opener of minus 125 for the Miami Marlins, plus 105 on the Cubs. 6.5 is the total. Over is minus 120, and the under is even. Don't have a lot of early numbers on this game because it was looking like Drew Smyly was going to be going for the Cubs. There was a last-second switch of Rooney, and right now only DraftKings has a number up as a result. But I'd be taking a look at the Cubs in this circumstances. I set them as a very slight favorite. I've liked what I've seen out of Jesus Luzardo. This is no knock on him. This is a knock on the fact that the Miami Marlins have scored 3 runs or fewer in 32 out of their last 39 games entering into Tuesday's affair. Just has been far from terrific when you got guys like Peyton Butterick, J.J. Blade, Gerard Encarnacion, or hitting below a 225 getting at bats. That is very far from ideal. And for Marcus Stroman, he has been flat out magnificent when he's been on the road this season. For Marcus Stroman, he's got over a 5 ERA at home, which that boggles the human mind as to how this winds up working. But when Marcus Stroman has been on the road, .84 ERA, 4 home runs given up in 68 and a third innings with opponents hitting 50 points lower off of him than when he's in Wrigley Field. I think that he's drawn a lot of the Wrigley Field win games, but he's been able to do a nice job now with the Chicago Cubs. They themselves are lacking quite a bit of power right now for the Miami Marlins. They've got nobody in their starting lineup with more than 10 home runs, but the Cubs aren't necessarily too much better, as the only man in their starting lineup yesterday with more than 6 home runs was Ian Happ, and Ian Happ has been able to do a nice job. He's hitting a 275, and then do have guys like a Christopher Morel, Alfonso Rivas hitting between about a 235 to a 245, but this is a team that's gutted right now. Patrick Wisdom has been able to crank out 20-plus home runs. He's been a little bit banged up back in the fold for the team, but not necessarily doing a lot in terms of batting average. Nico Horner has been dealing with some injuries, so not great there. And for the Miami Marlins, you do have some nice bullpen pieces. Steven Okert, sub-3 ERA, Richard Blyer, Dylan Floro, both of these guys are registering about a 3.40-ish ERA. Uskar Belazobin, I think, has some upside. And then for the Chicago Cubs, it's been very touch and go in terms of the bullpen. I like Brandon Hughes. He's been able to do a nice job. Manuel Rodriguez, Michael Rucker, they're guys that I have a little bit of question mark with. Though I will say, Rodriguez is posting up a 3 ERA, so credit where credit is due. He's been pitching a little bit better, but when you got Jeremiah Estrada out there, it's not too terrific either. But this is a Miami Marlins team that plays in a very pitcher-friendly ballpark, and I think that they're going to continue to have a tough time being able to move the line. Getting any sort of plus price on the Cubs, I'm willing to fire in there. Made them the minus 107 favorite, and set another super low total in a Miami Marlins game of a 6.3. So even here at the 6.5, we'll be looking under 957, 958 on the betting board. It is the San Francisco Giants. They're on the road facing off against the Colorado Rockies. Odavan Marquez is going to be going for the Rockies, and Logan Webb is on the bump for the Giants. Giants are between minus 130 to minus 140 favorites, between plus 120 and plus 125. The number on Colorado, 10 to 10.5 is the total on the 10. Over is minus 115. Under is minus 105 on the 10.5. Under is anywhere between minus 115 and minus 125. Over is between minus 105 and plus 105. Was one to lay up to a minus 132 with the Giants. I'm seeing the minus 130 out there, and that's essentially the most I'm willing to lay, but would be willing to lay that minus 130 with the San Francisco Giants, because with the Giants, they do a very good job of platooning, which credit where credit is due to their manager in Gabe Kapler, who's been able to do a nice job with those splits over the last few seasons, because this is not necessarily the world's greatest San Francisco Giants hitting team. They've got Jock Peterson, who has supplied over 20 home runs, hitting about at 265, so he's been able to do a nice job on that front, but really past that, you don't have a ton with this team. You've been able to get a little bit of power out of Thairo Estrada. He's went deep 14 times. He's hitting about at 265, and then Austin Slater has moved the line, but you've got guys like Evan Longoria, Wilmer Flores, J.D. Davis, all in between about at 235 to a 240, and those are some of your more reliable bets. That's not great, but we saw it on display on Monday. This Colorado Rockies bullpen, it is not good either. Alex Colomé has went straight down the toilet bowl the second half of the season. You've got Justin Lawrence with his 4 ERA being one of the best pitchers for this team ever since he has come into the fold. Nelson Lamet has been supplying about a 3 ERA. I think that he has some upside, but we've also got guys like Jake Bird and Noah Davis. And for the San Francisco Giants, their bullpen has been far from tremendous either, which is why I did set my total at 10.8. I'm going to be looking at the over, as you've had Jarlin Garcia, John Brebbia, Alex Young provide a 3.20 ERA or better. Camilo Doval, he's also supplying a sub-3 ERA, but guys like Tyler Rogers, Scott Alexander, there's not a lot of faith to be had there. And I will say for Logan Webb, he has been better on the road this season than he has been in past years. Last year, he had an ERA that was hovering around 4 on the road. This year, it's more of a 3.07 road ERA compared to a 2.97 home ERA now. Going to Coors Field is always a challenge, as he's allowed about a home run per 9 innings when he's been on the road, a tad bit less than that. And for Logan Webb, you take a look at his last 5 starts at 2.63 ERA. So while the team has been going straight down the toilet bowl, he has not in 2 starts against Colorado, I believe 1 at home and 1 on the road. He's given up 5 earned runs in 12 2/3 innings. So he's been able to do his part. And for Ermar Marquez, he's been better at home recently, but not been great. 6.78 home ERA compared to a 3.50 ERA on the road. He's just such a different pitcher away from Coors. He's giving up 2 home runs per 9 innings. His walks per 9 rate is not bad, about 2.5, 2.6 walks per 9 innings, but his opponent's batting average goes up over 100 points when he's at home rather than on the road. Now, I think a little bit of it is bad luck, but certainly he has just not been great. And for the Colorado Rockies, they're dealing with an injury to Brendan Rodgers now. He's been one of their top home run hitters when they have been at home. As the Rockies, they hit about 40 points better when they're at home rather than on the road, and their home run power is significantly better as well. Right around 0.6 home runs per game on the road, more like 1.1 home runs per game at home. CJ Cron, of his 28 home runs, 21 of them have come at home. Ryan McMahon has relatively solid splits as well. Out of his 17 home runs, 13 have wound up coming at home as well. So, we'll go down the line with a lot of these guys, but I do think that Logan Webb going to be able to put forth a good start, and I do think that Ermar Marquez going to be giving up quite a few runs in this circumstance, and I think that both bullpens are as well. So I might total at 10.8, looking over, and want to lay up to a minus 132 with the Giants. 959, 960 on the betting board. It is the St. Louis Cardinals. They are on the road facing off against the Slam Diego Padres, as Blake Snell goes for the Pods, and Miles Michaelis is on the bump for St. Louis. St. Louis between even money and a plus 108 number, anywhere between minus 115 and minus 120. The number on San Diego, 7.5 is your total. The overs between minus 110 and minus 115. The unders between minus 105 and minus 110. Made by total 7.2, so I'm going to be looking at the under, but I did make the Padres minus 134. I'm going to be willing to lay it. With Blake Snell, he has been significantly better recently than he was at the start of the season. Now, Snell, he still has his walks issues overall for the season, has been giving up in the neighborhood about 3.8 to 3.9 walks per 9 innings, and has actually been significantly worse at home than on the road, which is strange to say. 3.06 road ERA, 4.43 home ERA. Among the 10 home runs that he's surrendered, 7 of them have come at home this season, but he has been really good over his last few starts in general, being able to do a nice job giving up 1 run in 7 innings in his past starts. So, and something that you do like to find, that was on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks and has given up 1 run or fewer in 3 out of his last 4 starts. Overall, lone albatross in their game against the LA Dodgers, which that's the LA Dodgers. And for Miles Michaelis, he comes in struggling, giving up 3+ runs in 4 out of his last 5 starts, and not like it was against the greatest competition. Reds twice, Cubs twice, and against the Pittsburgh Pirates for those 5 starts. And for Michaelis, just feels like he's getting figured out because he does a good job of not walking guys. His walks per 9 rate is about 1.7. He just doesn't get a lot of swings and misses, about 6.8 strikeouts per 9 innings. Gives up only about 1.2 home runs per 9 innings, but on the road, 4.56 ERA compared to a 2.38 home ERA. Now, if there is one thing that the Cardinals have over the Padres in this spot, it is the bullpen. Even without Genesis Cabrera, you saw Packy Donton and Andre Palante, two good long guys. Chris Stratton, since coming over to the Cardinals, has right around a 3 ERA. Ryan Helsley has a sub-2 ERA, and Giovanni Gallegos has been able to do a nice job recently for the Cardinals, as he's got about a 2.50 ERA over the last 5 weeks. And then for the San Diego Padres, Nabel Chrisman is out of the fold. I like what you've been able to get out of Robert Suarez, a sub-3 ERA. Adrian Morejon, Nick Martinez are able to be long guys. Neither are tremendous, but both of these guys have not struggled as badly as Josh Hader. And to the credit of Hader, over the last 2 weeks, it's been a little bit better, but he still has north of a 10 ERA since joining the San Diego Padres. But with the Padres, I do think that eventually these bats are going to get online, as you've got the duo of Josh Bell and Juan Soto with a combined 7 home runs since they've come over from DC. Neither guy hitting above a 230. Brendan Drury has been able to do an okay job with the Padres overall. 27 home runs at a 265 average this season. And for Manny Machado, he's been the constant all year long. 29 home runs, hitting nearly a 300. Jose Azucar has done a nice job moving the line, hitting a 275, has got a lot of guys like Jurickson Profar, Jake Cronenworth, Ha-Seong Kim, Austin Nola, all in between about a 238 to a 248, but you have had just your ups and downs in general with the Padres. They've had a tough time scoring at home, but the good news is they've got Blake Snell going for them. I think that this is a good pitching advantage for the San Diego Padres. I did make them a minus 134 favorite. I'm going to be willing to lay it, and made a total of 7.2, so diving under as well. 961, 962 on the betting board. The Arizona Diamondbacks, they're on the road. They're facing off against the LA Dodgers, as it is Dustin May going for the Dodgers, and Mad Bum, Madison Bumgarner, who has truly been a bum, is going to be going for Arizona. Arizona between a plus 250 to a plus 260 underdog. Between minus 290 and minus $3 is your number on the Dodgers with 8.5. The total under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. If you're diving into that Dodgers run line, I'm finding it at a minus 130, and that's exactly where I am looking, because with the Dodgers, going to make them more like a minus 270 on the money line, but I'm willing to lay up to a minus 150 on the run line, because I did make my total a 9.7, and this is going to be the DK Nation pick, by the way. I was a little bit unsure of this one. I saw the total of 8.5, and I'm just like, yep, this is going to be it, because with Madison Bumgarner, he has just not been good, to say the least, all season long. He has given up at least 4 runs in 8 out of his last 9 starts. This guy has just seen his entire career go straight down the toilet bowl. And for Madison Bumgarner, a 5.43 road ERA. When he's faced off against the Dodgers twice this season, he's given up 8 runs in the course of 11 innings. The command has been deteriorating a little bit with him, as he's given up about 3 walks per 9 innings. His home runs per 9 rate is quickly approaching 2. It's about 1.7 to 1.8. Over his last 4 starts, he's given up 5 home runs and had an 8.24 ERA in that span. And he's backed up by an Arizona Diamondbacks team that, quite honestly, does a solid job of putting bat to ball on the road. They get about 0.85 home runs per game when they are at home. On the road, this is more like 1.3, as you've got Dalton Varsho and Christian Walker, who entered into Game 2 of the doubleheader yesterday with a combined 61 home runs, both hitting in between about a 235 to 245. Ketel Marte also hitting about a 240 along with Alec Thomas. Now, you got guys like Sergio Alcantara, Cooper Hummel, guys like this that have not been able to do a great job, but you've had guys like a Jake McCarthy, Corbin Carroll hitting above a 290. You've had Stone Garrett do a nice job moving the line as well. And then for the LA Dodgers, you've got all sorts of mashers on this team, as Trey Turner, Freddie Freeman, a pair of guys hitting above a 300. You've got Mookie Betts, who's been able to supply over 35 home runs at the leadout spot, hitting at 275. Will Smith, 22 home runs, 350 on base. Trace Thompson hitting above 275. Gavin Lux hitting at 290. You're able to go down the line, and these are a pair of teams that are going to be very tired in terms of their bullpen, as well as for the LA Dodgers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Neither got good length out of their Game 1 of the doubleheader starter for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Certainly in Game 2, that wasn't too tremendous either. So you got a very tired Arizona Diamondbacks bullpen that over the last 45 days has a north of 6 ERA. Joe Mantiply has provided a sub-3 ERA, but guys like Luis Frias, Taylor Widener, Caleb Smith, Edwin Uceta, they're all not good. And for the LA Dodgers, you're still dealing with Craig Kimbrell. That's not necessarily too amazing. You got from there Caleb Ferguson, Alex Vesia, Evan Phillips. These guys have been able to do a rock-solid job, but even for Dustin May, he has been all over the place since he has come off the injured list. As you take a look at the 5 starts he has made this season, he went 5 scoreless against the Giants in his last start. That was very solid, but previous 2 starts, gives up 10 runs in 10 innings against the Padres. He gave up 2 runs, one of which was earned in 2 starts against the Miami Marlins, so he has been very touch and go. Does a good job of being able to get swings and misses, about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but the walks per 9 rate, that is around 4 as well, and when it's been against better competition, it has not been too tremendous there, so I think that runs are going to be a plenty. DK Nation pick is going to be on the over with these 2 guys starting, and with the LA Dodgers, want to lay up to a minus 150 on the run line. So looking at the over with the DK Nation pick, and I'm going to be taking the Dodgers run line, 963, 964 on the betting board. The Houston Astros hit the road face-off against the Tampa Bay Rays. Corey Kluber is going to be going for the Rays, and Lance McCullers Jr. is on the bump for the Astros, and the Astros are slight favorites between minus 120 to a minus 125, between plus 105 and plus 115. The number on the Rays, 7 is the total, over is minus 115, the under is minus 105. Needed at least plus 113 to fire in on the Rays, so we have been able to get there with Corey Kluber. You know that he's not going to put guys on cheaply. Now, he is going to give up quite a bit of contact along the way, but he does a nice job being able to hold down the fort, make sure that he's able to stay in control of the game. He has a 4.44 ERA, which is better at home. 3.92 home ERA, 5.05 ERA on the road, and at home, he's given up 9 walks in 80 and a third innings. His walks per 9 rate is literally 1 at home, which he's given up the same amount of walks as he has home runs at home this season, with opponents saying about a 260 off of him out of the drop. And for Lance McCullers Jr., he does have a 2.34 ERA thus far this season, but if you look at McCullers, his fielding independent and his ERA do not match up because it's sort of been, for lack of a better term, Rick the Wild Thing Vaughn for the Astros ever since he's come off the injured list. His fielding independent is about a full point higher than his ERA because he's given up 4.9 walks per 9 innings, 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, which you do like to see, and he's given up 2 runs or fewer in each out of his starts since coming off of the injured list, but you gotta wonder when the walks are going to catch up with him. 3+ walks surrendered in 4 out of his last 5 starts, and he's gone up against the Tampa Bay Rays team that they don't have a lot of power, but they do a very solid job of moving the line. For the Tampa Bay Rays, Harold Ramirez and Jose Aranda have been able to hit about a 300 for the season, with Manuel Margot and Yandy Diaz both hitting between about a 285 to 295. Diaz has provided a 400 on base. Wander Franco, he's been able to hit about a 265 as well. Francisco Mejia has done a solid job along with Christian Bethancourt, moving the line in between about a 250 to a 255. Now, Isaac Paredes and Randy Arozarena are the only 2 guys that have more than 10 home runs for this team, and Paredes has only been able to hit about a 220, but with the Tampa Bay Rays, they also have a very solid bullpen as Jason Adam, Pete Fairbanks, Jalen Beeks, throw in their Brooks Raley, all providing a sub-3 ERA. And for the Houston Astros, they've had a very good bullpen of their own, as guys like Brian Abreu, throw in their Ryan Stanek, Rafael Montero, Seth Martinez are providing a sub-3 ERA. Will Smith, ever since he's gotten to town, has also been very solid. A little bit unexpected, but since he's joined the Astros, about a 2.75 ERA of his own. And for the Houston Astros, you've got Yordan Alvarez, who has gone deep, I believe, now 6 times in his last 6 games. It has been incredibly impressive. Kyle Tucker's up to 100 RBI for the season, as he and Jose Altuve, both with 25+ home runs. Altuve, a 380 on base. You've had Alex Bregman provide a 375 on base with 20+ home runs. Trey Bubman Mancini does a good job of moving the line. Do you think that the Astros should be a slight favorite with having McCullers out there, but I fear that he's going to get knocked out a little bit too early, and even with the Astros having the top bullpen ERA in the big leagues, that taxation on the bullpen not too terrific, and Kluber has shown to be a little bit human this season in terms of being hit around as well, but does a good job of providing lengths up by total of 7.6, so looking at the over, needed at least a plus 115 with the Rays, and I've been able to get there as well. 965, 966 on the betting board. It is the Detroit Tigers. They're on the road facing off against the Baltimore Orioles. Jordan Lyles is going to be going for the Orioles, and Matt Manning is on the bump for Detroit. Detroit between a plus 140 to a plus 150 underdog, between minus 155 and minus 165 is your price on the Orioles. 8 to 8.5 is the total. On the 8, over is minus 120. The under is even. On the 8.5, the under is minus 120, and the over is even. And with the Detroit Tigers, needed at least a plus 170 to fire in on them if you're eyeing this Baltimore Orioles run line. Seeing that at a plus 125, I needed at least a plus 115. So we haven't been able to get there on that front, as Jordan Lyles has been such a different pitcher when he has been at home rather than on the road. And a big reason why is because fences get pushed back at Camden Yards this season, and a man that is very hittable on the road in Jordan Lyles, who has a 5.48 road ERA with 18 home runs and 87 innings, has been significantly better as a result. 5 bombs in 74 innings given up at home. Opponents are hitting at 294 off of him, but he's got just a 3.77 ERA. He's done a good job of limiting damage. He's also done a nice job giving up about only 2.7 walks per 9 innings. And for Matt Manning, since he has come into the major league level, he's been having an ERA that is more than 2.5 points higher on the road than at home. This year, 2.52 home ERA compared to a 4.91 ERA on the road. This despite the fact that he's only given up 1 home run in 18 and a third innings. When he has been on the road, the walks per 9 rate is about 3. That's not bad, but very much has been pitching into contact. His strikeouts per 9 rate, that is right around a 7. And for the Baltimore Orioles, it is a very balanced lineup. You've got Anthony Santander, who's been the main masher, as he and Ryan Mountcastle have a combined 49 home runs this season. These two gentlemen throw in their Adley Rushman, Ramon Urias, Austin the Say's kid, Ryan McKenna, throwing between about a 240 to a 255, and then Cedric Mullins has done a nice job hitting at 265 at the top. And Gunnar Henderson, since he has gotten called up to the big leagues, he's been hitting above a 300 as well. Orde Mateo, he's one of the best base stealers in the American League. And then for the Detroit Tigers, you've got so many guys that are struggling for this team right now. Is Ryan Kreidler, Akil Baddoo, Cody Clements, Jamier Candelario, Jonathan Scope, Spencer Torkelson, Tucker Barnard, all hitting at 220 or lower. Now, I will say Kerry Carpenter, Riley Green, Harold Castro, they're hitting between about a 255 to 265, but you don't have a single player that entered in Tuesday with more than 14 home runs. And for the Detroit Tigers since the beginning of the month of August, they rank in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. You've still had guys like Jason Foley, Andrew Chafin, Jose Cicerno provide their sub-3 ERA, but Daniel Norris has been terrible. He's got a 6 ERA. Alex Lang has not been too tremendous. Joe Jimenez, a little bit up and down, and Will Vest has not been able to do an amazing job himself, and a lot of this is just due to the Detroit Tigers not having good starting pitching at all, and that Texas bullpen has taken a lot out of them. Meanwhile, the Orioles, they've been able to maintain in their bullpen as Joey Kribio, Keegan Aiken, Felix Bautista, Cianel Perez, Dylan Tate, all providing a sub-3.2 ERA. So I do side with the Baltimore Orioles in this circumstance. I like the way that Jordan Lyles has been able to throw at home. I did set my total at 7.6 with the Tigers being the worst scoring American League offense on the road this season. They've been a little bit better recently, but I do think that the Orioles bullpen going to be able to do a good job towards back half of this game, and I do think that you're going to have Matt Manning be able to give a respectable start. So looking at the Orioles on the run line and the under as we go 967, 968 on the betting board, it is the Walker Texas Rangers. They're going to be playing against the LA Angels as Tucker Davidson is going to be going for the Angels, and Dane Dunning is going to hope to be stunning for the Texas Rangers, and the Rangers are mid-sized favorites. They are between minus 130 to minus 135 favorites. Between plus 115 and plus 120 is your number on the Angels, and 8.5 is the total. The over is minus 115 and the under is minus 105, and I'm going to be siding with the Texas Rangers in this circumstance as I set them more around a minus 164 favorite, and I'm going to be eyeing the run line because I just have no faith whatsoever in Tucker Davidson. I'm seeing that at a plus 150, and I do think that that's very solid value because with Dane Dunning, he's got some of the most demonstrative home and road splits since he has joined the Texas Rangers prior to the start of the 2021 season. Last year, his ERA at home was about 3 points lower than it was on the road. A little bit more tame this year, but still very demonstrative. 3.59 home ERA to a 5.62 road ERA, and this despite his home runs per 9 rate being relatively equal home to road. As a matter of fact, it might be a little bit worse at home, but opponents are nearly 80 points lower off of him when he's at home. Meanwhile, Tucker Davidson, this guy has just been a hot mess. He was not good with the Atlanta Braves. He has not been good with the LA Angels. In 6 starts with the Angels, a 7.24 ERA. He's got 17 strikeouts and 17 walks and 27 and a third innings. Just not going amazingly for our good friend Tucker Davidson. He has not been good at home. He has not been good on the road. Now, with the LA Angels, what you do have is a good top of the lineup. Mike Trout, Joey Ohtani, entering into Tuesday, a combined 70 home runs. Both gentlemen in between about a 268 to 278. Luis Renifo and Taylor Ward are in between about a 270 to 275. They've got a combined 33 home runs, but then you get into the guys like Mike Ford, Max Stassi, Joe Adele, throw in there Kurt Suzuki whenever he gets at bats. These guys have been far from amazing. And for the Texas Rangers, you've got 4 different guys with at least 23 home runs. Marcus Semien, Nate Lowe, Adolis Garcia, Corey Seager, Semien, and Garcia hitting between about a 244 to a 254, and then Nate Lowe, he's been able to hit above a 300. Bubba Thompson, Leody Taveras, they've been hitting about a 270 to 275 apiece. And then you do have in the bullpen of the Texas Rangers 2 guys that you're able to rely upon in Brock Burke and Matt Moore. They've both been able to supply a sub-3 ERA. When you get into Dana Santana, that has not been the world's greatest circumstance, as he has not been good to say the least all season long, but by and large you do have a bullpen that has been okay for this team. Someone like an Jose Leclerc, not lighting the world on fire, but still able to do an okay job. And the flip side for the LA Angels, guys like an Andrew Watts have been okay. Jose Quiada has seen a little bit of regression, but he's been fine. The real guys that you have concern with are the veterans like Aaron Lou, Brian Tepera. They have not been too great, but with Tucker Davidson pitching, you're probably going to need to look to some long guy like Jaime Badilla because he has not been able to lend a lot of length. He's probably going to get tattooed in this circumstance, which is why I do like the run line of the Texas Rangers. I do think that Dane Dunning going to be able to lend another very solid home start. I do think that there might be a little bit of regression with it, but I do think that he's going to be able to do a solid job once again. But I think that the Rangers hit Tucker Davidson. I think they hit him hard. Set my total at 8.7, so looking over, and I'm going to be taking the big plus money run line of the Texas Rangers. 969, 970 on the betting board. It is even as the Twins on the road facing off against the Kansas City Royals. Daniel Lynch is going to be going for the Royals, and Bailey Ober goes for Minnesota. 8.5 is the total. Unders between -110 to a -120. The overs between even and -110, and with Minnesota going to be finding them between -137 and -145. Between +120 and +130 is the number on the Royals. And with the Twins, I set them at a -137. So the absolute lowest of the low of the number I am willing to lay. And if you're checking out the run line of the Minnesota Twins, you're finding that at a +115. And quite honestly, if we would get more like a -125 to a -130, getting a run and a half with the Royals, that's something I would entertain. I'm going to look to see if we can get a little bit of movement on this line in general, but as of right now, where I'd be looking is at -137 with the Twins, because that is the absolute max of the max that I'm willing to lay with them. But I am willing to lay it because I do like what I saw from Bailey Ober in his first start out in a very long time. He was able to go 5 scoreless settings, and it's a Minnesota Twins team that has been able to do a good job of moving the line even without having their star hitters in Ore Polanco and Byron Buxton in the fold, as you've got Nick Gordon, Carlos Correa, a pair of guys in between about 275 to 285, and with Correa, 20-plus home runs for him this season. Jose Miranda, Gio Urshela, they're both hitting in that pocket about a 270 to 275. Matt Wallner has actually been able to lend some good at-bats, and Luis Arias, one of the better table setters you're going to find in the MLB. Not a power guy, but having a 380 on base, 317 batting average. That's rock solid. For the Kansas City Royals, we've seen some of the younger guys step up as Vinny Pasquantino, Mike Massey, Michael A. Taylor, all in between a 262, 270 entering into yesterday's game, and Bobby Witt Jr. and Salvador Perez have both been hitting about a 248 to 250. Both gentlemen with 20 to 22 home runs. Now, other than MJ Melendez, you don't have a lot of power in the lineup, and that's a big issue for the Royals. And what else is an issue? This dead last bullpen in terms of ERA. Dylan Coleman, Scott Barlow have not been too bad as they've posted up sub-3 ERAs. And Jose Cuas gives you a couple okay innings as well, but Colin Snyder, Luke Weaver, Anthony Michevich, Carlos Hernandez, all these guys with north of a 5 ERA. Amir Garrett is in that neighborhood as well. That has not been too terrific. And for the Twins, you've got quite a few guys towards back half of this bullpen that are good. And Giovanni Morin, Ore Lopez, throw in there as well, Yohan Duran. They've all been able to supply a sub-250 ERA. They've had Joel Cotton in and out of the fold. He's not going to be with the team for this one. And Emilio Pagan, not a guy that you want to be trusting in, but you've been able to get some good innings as well out of even someone like a Caleb Theobar recently, who overall for the season has about a 350 ERA. But take a look at him. Over the last, we're going to call it 5 weeks, he's given up just 1 run in that time span, so that is going to be able to help out the Minnesota Twins with a guy in Bailey Ober who's been pretty rock solid. Probably only going to go about 5 innings in this circumstance, but has always been able to do a good job of not giving up a lot of walks. The fear with him has always been the deep ball. And then take a look at the flip side, what the Royals have out there in Daniel Lynch. And this is not a guy that you want to be trusting him whatsoever, as he's got an ERA that is a little bit north of 5. And for Daniel Lynch, he has not pitched well at home. 6.11 home ERA, 4.36 road ERA, giving up nearly 1.8 home runs per 9 innings. When he's been at home, opponents are at 300 off of him. Get some swings and misses with about 8.6, 8.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but also about 3.5 walks per 9 innings. So with the Minnesota Twins, don't want to lay more than minus 137, but I'm willing to lay the minus 137, and I do think that you're going to get a higher scoring game, especially with Bailey Ober Price being on a little bit of a pitch count. So somebody told 9.1 looking over, and I'm going to be looking at the Twins. 971, 972 on the betting board. The Cleveland Guardians are on the road facing off against the Chicago White Sox. Lance Lynn goes for the Sox, and Tristan McKenzie is on the bump for Cleveland. 7.5 is the total. The under is between minus 110 to a minus 115. Over is between minus 105 to a minus 110, and with the White Sox, they're between minus 125 to minus 130 favorites. Between plus 110 and plus 115 is the number on Cleveland. And with the Guardians, I needed at least a plus 105 to fire it on them. We have been able to get that plus 110 number, so I'm going to be taking a look at the Guardians. Now, the fear that you have with Tristan McKenzie is he has allowed the deep ball on the road. Overall for the season, he deserves much better than a 10-11 record, by the way. 3.08 ERA and just a 3.18 ERA on the road, but big reason why he's 5-8 in terms of the record on the road has been the home run ball. He has given up about 1.55 home runs per 9 innings when he's been on the road. Opponents rank just a 204 off of him, and he's done a nice job getting swings and misses all season long, about 8.6 strikeouts per 9 innings. The walks per 9 rate, that's about 2.2, but you take a look on the flip side for Lance Lynn, and it's been a career renaissance for him recently. Shock, shock, surprise, surprise, says Tony La Russa. Stopping with the team, he has pitched absolutely magnificently, as for our good friend Lance Lynn, he has given up a combined 5 earned runs in his last 6 total starts. There have been a couple unearned runs that have been thrown in there, but 2 runs or fewer surrendered in all but one of his starts since the beginning of the month of August, and that's 9 starts, people. So Lance Lynn has been able to do a magnificent job of being able to hold down the fort, and he's given up as many walks as home runs this season. His walks per 9 rate is a 1.4. His strikeout numbers still very superb, and he's backed up by Reynaldo Lopez and Jimmy Lambert in the bullpen. Both of these guys have been able to do a good job posting up a sub-3 ERA for the Chicago White Sox. Lineup doesn't necessarily have a lot of power, but it has a lot of balance, as you've got Elvis Andrus, Jose Abreu, along with Eloy Jimenez, Andrew Vaughn, all between 14 and 17 home runs, and this is Andrus' numbers only with the White Sox, so this excludes with the Oakland A's, but all these guys in a White Sox uniform hitting at least a 288. You've had Luis Robert move the line. He and A.J. Pollock, 12 home runs apiece. Robert has been able to hit about a 290 as well. Josh Harrison towards the bottom of the fold has been able to get on base as well. And for the Cleveland Guardians, they rank at the bottom 3 in the big leagues in terms of total home runs, but great balance in terms of getting on base. Steven Kwan, Amid Rosario, Oscar Gonzalez, Andres Jimenez, Jose Ramirez, all entered into Tuesday, hanging at least at 279, with Ramirez 28 home runs out of him. Josh Naylor has been able to go deep 18 times. He's hitting about a 255. Not a lot of power outside that, but the Guardians do a good job of moving the line. But the reason why I'm willing to take the Guardians in this circumstance is that post All-Star break, they've got the best ERA in the big leagues, as Aniel De Los Santos, Trevor Stephen, Nick Sandlin all supply a sub-3 ERA, and then you've got Emmanuel Clase and James Karinchak. This 1-2 punch has been magnificent. Both of these guys have an ERA of a 172 or lower. You can make the case that Clase has been the best closer in the big league. So I think that the Cleveland Guardians are going to do a masterful job with pitching. I do think that Lance Lynn is going to see a little bit of a tick up in terms of the runs that he gives up. I think that's going to be death by a million cuts. I do think that McKenzie probably going to give up a deep ball as well. So I did set my total at 7.7. I'm going to look at the over on 7.5, but going to be looking at the Cleveland Guardians getting between about a plus 110 to a plus 115. 973, 974 on the betting board. The Seattle Mariners, they're on the road. They're facing off against the Oakland A's. James Caprillion is going to be going for the A's, and Robbie Ray goes for Seattle. Seattle between minus $2 and minus 210 as a favorite, and anywhere between plus 180 and plus 188 is the number on Oakland. 7 days the total. The over is minus 120, and the under is even. And when it comes to Oakland, needed at least plus 178 to fire in on them, and we have gotten there. Robbie Ray is someone that you need to handicap so different when he is at home rather than on the road, because for Robbie Ray, he has done a very good job in Seattle all season long. For Ray in Seattle, 273 ERA, giving up about 1.1 home runs per 9 innings. On the road, about 1.8 to 1.9 home runs per 9 innings. His walks per 9 rate on the road is nearly 4. At home, it's about 2.1, and opponents are hitting 73 points higher off of him when he's on the road. Now, good news is he's going to be pitching in Oakland, and Oakland, as we know, is a very pitcher-friendly ballpark. He's gone against the A's 3 times, and he has allowed just 5 runs in a little bit north of 18 and a third inning, so done a nice job whenever he has gone up against this Oakland A's team, but certainly is supplying the deep ball right now. And for James Kaprielian, command has been an issue for him, as he is allowing, in terms of walks per 9, about 4.6, which that's far from terrific. He has given up at least 4 walks in 3 out of his last 4 starts, but he's given up 2 earned runs or fewer in 4 out of his last 5 starts as well. So you got the negative and you got the positive when it comes to Cap, and he's got a 5.87 home ERA compared to a 3.91 road ERA, which makes no sense because Oakland is about as pitcher-friendly as it gets. And in 4 starts against Seattle, Kaprielian has not been bad, giving up 10 home runs in 21 and a third innings, allowing just 2 home runs along the way. And the Seattle Mariners, they've got the worst batting average in the American League since the All-Star break, as got a lot of guys that don't do a great job of moving the line, like Abraham Toro, Dylan Moore, Carlos Santana, Kirk Caselli, even Cal Raleigh, who's been able to supply some home runs. All these guys being a 220 or lower for who I mentioned before in Raleigh, throwing their Ty France and Julio Rodriguez. They've all been able to supply between 20 and 23 home runs, and Eugenio Suarez has been able to do a good job of going deep as well. But Suarez, he is out on the 10-day injured list. He is their leader in home runs at 31. That is very big. Mitch Haniger, he's back in fold. He has not been quite the same guy that he was last season, though. And for the Oakland A's, don't have a lot of firepower in this lineup, but Seth Brown, Sean Murphy, both would be able to give you 18-plus home runs. With Murphy, he's been able to about a 255, and Dermis Garcia sitting at 255 as well. You need a little bit more towards the bottom of the fold, as Shea Langolaris, Nick Allen, guys like this have been hitting below a 220, which has just been really killing this Oakland A's team. And the Oakland A's have also been hurt by Danny Jimenez being on the injured list along Zach Jackson. These have been 2 of their better bullpen pieces, and Sam Ball and AJ Puck have just been used so much it's not even funny. They've got north of 4 ERAs in the second half of the season after being so dynamic in the first half of the season because of it. And for the Seattle Mariners, they have maintained their really good bullpen, as Andres Munoz, Eric Swanson, Paul Sewell, Penn Murphy all posting up a sub-3 ERA, and Matt Brashton's going to the bullpen has been masterful. Diego Castillo, though, it's been a little bit of an adventure, and for Robbie Ray, I just fear that he's going to give up some deep balls early, and that'll keep the Oakland A's in this game. And the Seattle Mariners, with their lack of hitting in general in terms of being able to move the line, is going to come back to cost them. I'm willing to take the plus price with the Oakland A's. I did set my total at 7.6 with the way that Robbie Ray has been allowing the deep ball. So looking at the Oakland A's, I'm going to be taking a look at the over. 975, 976 on the betting board. It is the Cincinnati Reds. Yes, we are in Cincinnati, and they're going to be playing host to the Boston Red Sox. Connor Siebold is going to be going for the Sox, and Chase Anderson is on the bump for the Reds. 9.5 is the total. Currently only seeing a number at DraftKings over is -115. The under is -105, with the Red Sox getting them as a -170 favorite, and plus 145 is the number on the Reds. And this is most likely going to be a play for me on the Reds when it's all said and done, once the juice settles a bit, because I need at least a plus 152 to fire in on the Reds. And right now, that Red Sox run line that is at a -110, I need a plus number. And as a matter of fact, if we could even get more like a -105-ish on the Cincinnati Reds run line, getting a run and a half, that's something I would entertain as well, because I just don't have a lot of faith in Connor Siebold. He has made 4 career starts with an 11.91 ERA. Now, if you look at him at the minor league level, was never much of a swing and miss guy. About 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. At AAA, you'd expect that to be a little bit higher, but 2 walks per 9 innings. Command is there, and for Chase Anderson, we have seen what he is at the big league level, and you know what? Last 2 starts, not too bad. Giving up a combined 3 runs in 9 innings against the St. Louis Cardinals and the Milwaukee Brewers in these starts. Probably not going to lend a lot of length, but I do think that he took advantage of knowing the Brewers' tendencies in one of those starts as well. And when it comes to the Reds, what I do think is interesting is the bullpen has been significantly better here in the second half of the season, because they were the dead last bullpen in the big leagues for such a long time in terms of ERA. Post All-Star break, they're a top 9 team in terms of bullpen ERA. You've had a lot of guys pick it up. Alexis Diaz Vegas, he's been able to post up a sub-2 ERA all season long, but someone like Fernando Cruz, he's been able to supply a sub-2 ERA. You've had Ian Gabo, post-All-Star break, be able to give a couple of decent innings. They pick up Derek Law since he's joined the team. He's got a sub-1 ERA. Dorian Moreta, when he's seen innings, and it's not been a ton of them, but he's been able to do an okay job as well. So you do have some Cincinnati Reds bullpen pieces that have been able to do a good job, and for the Boston Red Sox, they are dead last in terms of post-All-Star break ERA, as you've got Ryan Brazier, Matt Barnes, Edward Bizzardo, Caleb Ward, all posting up north of a 5 ERA. I like Garrett Woodlock. He's able to give multiple innings from time to time, and John Schreiber has been supplying about a 2 ERA all season long, but Frank German entered into the series literally with an ERA of an infinity, so that's not great. And for the Cincinnati Reds, very much a top-heavy lineup as DJ Friedel, Jonathan India, Kyle Farmer, Jake Fraley, all these guys in between about a 250 to a 262, and Donovan Solano hitting a 290. Don't necessarily have a lot of power in the lineup, but these guys move the line when you get into guys like Chucky Robinson, Austin Romine, Jose Barrero, Stuart Fairchild. They're hitting at 230 or lower, so it's not been too terrific. And for the Boston Red Sox, got a lot of guys putting bat to ball. Rafi Devers, Alex Verdugo, Christian Arroyo hitting between a 280 to 290 is solid, but Devers really the lone home run hitter because Trevor Story is injured once again. Devers has been able to supply 25 plus home runs. Tommy Pham has went deep 16 times as well, and since joining Boston, he's been hitting about a 260, so you do like to see that. Rob Refsnyder is back in the fold as well, but guys like Yu Chang and Kike Hernandez at the bottom of the fold, they've been having a tough time of it as well. So I do think that the Red Sox should be a bit more of a favorite because I do think that their lineup overall is a little bit better. I think that Seabold is a better pitcher than Chase Anderson, but I don't think that it should be as big of a disparity as we're seeing right now. Going to be probably looking at the Reds in some form or capacity, hoping to get them more around about a plus 150 or so, and semi-total at a 9.8 as well. So on the 9.5 that we're seeing right now, looking at the over and planning to take the Reds as long as the numbers that we see overnight reflect what we got on the DraftKings opener. 977, 978 on the betting board. It is the Toronto Blue Jays on the road facing off against the Philadelphia Phillies. Zach Whelan and Dylan Wheeler is going for the Phils, and Kevin Gausman is on the bump for Toronto, and Toronto between even money and minus 105 is their number, and between minus 110 to a minus 115 is the number on the Philadelphia Phillies. A to Z total. The under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105. I just do not expect Zach Wheeler to give his full allotment of innings like he normally does coming off the injured list, and I was mentioning it with Andrew Caley, how good Kevin Gausman has been on the road. I set the Blue Jays as a result as a minus 123 favorite, so I'm going to be willing to fire in because for Kevin Gausman, he has been rough in his last few starts, giving up 5 runs in both of them, but for Kevin Gausman on the road, 245 ERA, a 467 home ERA. On the road, has given up just 5 home runs at 88 innings, and opponents are hitting about 60 points lower off of him when he's on the road rather than at home. Swing and miss stuff has been there for Kevin Gausman, and he is supplying about 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. And for Zach Wheeler, he's been good all season long. 11-7 record, 3 ERA, strikeouts per 9 rate. Still very solid this year, getting about 9.5, closer to 9.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and has been especially good at home with a .95 home ERA compared to a road ERA that's about a 4.35. But this is going to be Zach Wheeler's start since the 20th of August, which means that it has been a full month since he has taken the mound, and prior to going on the injured list, he had given up a combined 10 runs and 11 1/3 innings, so that was not too terrific. I just question what sort of form we're going to get with him because Philadelphia Phillies really had to dive in and give Kyle Gibson as much as humanly possible yesterday, even though he was really struggling because this is a bullpen that it's been a little bit suspect themselves. Sir Anthony Dominguez is coming out the injured list, does not look like himself. Brad Hand has been able to do a solid job along with David Robertson. Both of these guys have been able to give the team a sub-245 ERA. Connor Brogdon has been okay as well with right around a 3 ERA, and Jose Alvarado. Second half of the year hasn't been so bad, but for the Blue Jays, they also back up Kevin Gausman with the significantly better bullpen, as well as since they've gotten Anthony Bass, they've been able to pick things up as he's been a good addition, but on top of that, David Phillips, Yimi Garcia, Tim Meza, all supplying a sub-3 ERA. Jordan Romano has been one of the better closers in the big leagues with about a 2.35 ERA of his own. And for the Toronto Blue Jays, you've got Matt Chapman, Teoscar Hernandez, George Springer, Vlad Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette, all supplying at least 20 home runs. The only guy that is hitting below a 255 out of this core is Matt Chapman, who still has about a 325 on base and went deep yesterday. So he's been able to do his part. You've got Danny Jansen now hitting at 260. Alejandro Kirk is hitting at 295. A tremendous offense to say the least. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, since coming off the injury list, Bryce Harper has not looked like himself. Harper in this span has been hitting about a 222 with 2 home runs, so that has not been great for the team. You do have Alec Boehm, Gene Segura, both hitting between about a 282 and 290, though. Rhys Hoskins, 25-plus home runs, about a 335 on base. And Bryson Stott, second half of the season, has been hitting nearly a 300. Kyle Schwarber doesn't move the line, but he's been able to supply 39 home runs of his own at the leadoff spot. But I think that Gausman going to be able to come in, lend a good start, and I think that he lends more length than Zach Wheeler, which I think is going to be critical. I did set my total at a 7.7, so I'm going to be taking a look at the under in this ordeal because I do think that for the Phillies, they're going to utilize more of their trustworthy bullpen pieces. I do think that Gausman is really going to do a good job of locking down against this Phillies team. So looking at the under and looking at the Jays, and we're going to have things up with 979, 980 on the betting board. The New York Yankees are going to be playing us to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Alonso Contreras is going to be going for the Buccos, and Luis Severino is on the bump for the Yankees. And the Yankees are between minus 285 to minus $3 favorites. Between plus 250 and plus 260 is the number on Pittsburgh. 8 is the total. The over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And with the Yankees, I set them on the money line at a minus 208. I think that this is a very much overinflated line because this is going to be Luis Severino's first start since the All-Star break, and Odonsi Contreras has been very good for the Pittsburgh Pirates. I am very much willing to take this plus price with Odonsi Contreras. He's given up a combined 3 earned runs in his last 4 starts, and these starts came against the Reds on the road, which that's a very pitcher unfriendly ballpark in Cincinnati. That is not where you want to pitch. The St. Louis Cardinals, the Toronto Blue Jays, and the Philadelphia Phillies. With the team going 3-1 in those starts, he has given up just 6 walks in that time span. With Contreras, the strikeout numbers are starting to pick up. He gets about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but with Luis Severino, what the heck are you going to be able to get out of him? I mean, he's been out with a lat injury since the middle of July, and even before the lat injury, it's not like he was absolutely amazing with a 3.45 ERA. It's not like he's terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but he's given up about 1.4 home runs per 9 innings. The strikeout stuff was there, but gotta wonder what form of Luis Severino you're going to get him. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, they're still putting forth a relatively solid effort, as if you got guys in the lineup that are moving the line, as Cabrian Hayes, Rodolfo Castro, Michael Chavis, between about a 235 to 245, and then Brian Reynolds has been the main headliner, hitting at 255, north of 20 home runs out of him. You've had Michael Chavis be able to supply a double-digit amount of bombs, and Oniel Cruz not doing a great job in terms of average, hitting about a 220, but you take a look at the tear that he's been on, he's got pretty much 7 home runs over the last 3 weeks, so he's done a great job of very much strikeout or boom guy, but and has been able to help out the Pittsburgh Pirates quite a bit. And the New York Yankees, they just continue to be banged up. Aaron Judge, he's chasing the Triple Crown right now. He's been absolutely amazing. 59 as I record this home runs, hitting at 315, but everyone else not named Aaron Judge hitting a 265 or lower for this bunch. As Azir Kiner-Falefa, the newly inserted Harrison Bader, he finally played yesterday, and Jose Trevino hitting about a 250 to a 265 in that lineup, and then Giancarlo Stanton along with Josh Donaldson and Aaron Hicks. They're in there as well, to Cabrera as well. Need to pick it up with the average 225 or lower. Anthony Rizzo is back in full, though. He and Giancarlo Stanton both 25-plus home runs apiece. Gleyber Torres has went deep 20 times this season. What I will say for the Yankees is they still maintain a top 3 bullpen ERA in the league, as Ron Marinaccio in a Yankees uniform only, Lou Trevino, Wandy Peralta, these guys have been able to supply a sub-3 ERA. For Clay Holmes, it has been a hot mess for him, really, the second half of the season. He's been a little bit more trustworthy recently, but not a guy that I would want to rely upon him. For Jonathan Loáisiga, after a terrible start to the season, he's actually been able to pick it up. He's got a sub-2 ERA over the last 45 days, and for the Pittsburgh Pirates, it is a bad bullpen, but J.C. Young, he's able to lend multiple innings. He's been able to give you a sub-3 ERA this season. When you get into guys like Robert Stevenson, Yohan Ramirez, it's not great. Miguel Yajur has a 7 ERA, but Will Crowe and Manny Benuelos are a pair of longer guys that are able to give you about a 4-ish ERA. So I do think that the Pittsburgh Pirates, they've got some value in this circumstance, because I just don't think that Luis Severino is going to be able to give you too much. And then you have to probably go to someone like a Clark Schmidt as a long guy. I was willing to take the Pirates as long as I was getting at least $2, and we are certainly there. And set my total at 8.2. So looking over and looking at the Pirates, and that will wrap things up for the Wednesday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN family of podcasts. A big thanks to our good friend Andrew Caley of Covers for joining me in the last segment. If you do like what you're hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you've got a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you've got one or two ways we will fire those in. First one is my Twitter timeline at @GUnit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way, that is via an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. From there, you're able to find whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. I'll be coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season, and that means I'll be coming at you once again tomorrow. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Stop by Sherwin-Williams and get 30% off select paints and stains May 2nd through the 12th. It's the perfect time to transform your space with color. Refresh your home inside and out with colors that make every space feel brand new. From cozy interiors to stunning exteriors, we've got the perfect shade for your next project. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Click the banner to learn more. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/PODKATZ13. Just go to Indeed.com/PODKATZ13 right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.